Go ahead, turn the mics on.
Yours is on.
All right, please rise for the pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dear Lord, we lift up our sailors, soldiers, airmen, Marines, and guardmen, police officers, and first responders into our loving care. Protect our nation from that is all evil. Guide our way through these difficult times. Amen.
Amen.
Can we have a minute of silence for Lou Caprelli? He's one of our councilmen that passed away. Minute of silence, please. Thank you. Also like to ask council to have a page in the minutes for Lou in his honor.
We'll do roll call. Mr. President?
Yes.
Mr. Vaughn?
Here.
Chair is present. Ms. Borelli?
Yes.
Mr. Gorman let me know he was not able to make it this evening. Mr. Cannon?
Here, present.
Mr. Swan?
I'm here.
And Mr. Fagioli?
Here.
Okay. All right, next up is citizens' participation. If you have a comment regarding agenda items tonight, you may approach the podium, give your name and address, and you'll have 3 minutes. All right, seeing none, we'll move forward. I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes for the July 16th council meeting and a motion to approve the minutes for the August 6th caucus meeting.
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes.
Okay, Mr. Fagioli made a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, Mr. Braun seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Next is the reports of the borough officers. First up is the financial advisor.
Thank you, Madam President. You all have received your packets. If anyone has any questions, I'm here to answer them.
Any questions for the financial advisor? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to accept the financial advisor's report.
So moved.
Mr. Cannon made, and to pay the bills as well.
So moved.
Okay, Mr. Cannon made the motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Swan seconded. We'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Resnick?
Yes.
Mr. Braun?
Yes.
Chair votes yes. Ms. Borelli?
Yes.
Mr. Cannon?
Yes.
Mr. Swan?
Yes.
Mr. Fagioli?
Yes.
Right, motion carries. Next up, the police chief's report.
I have nothing further than what's in your packet.
Any questions for the chief? I'll entertain a motion to accept the police chief's report.
I'll make the motion to accept the police chief's report.
All right, Ms. Borelli made the motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Resnick seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Next up is the fire chief's report. Anything from the fire department?
The only thing we have is we were asked to host the 6th annual 9/11 Memorial Bike Ride. So we will be, I shouldn't say hosting, we'll be housing that. That will be on 9/11, starting at 8:45. Other than that, I believe the chief already sent over the fire report.
We have it.
Okay.
One other thing to mention for council to approve this, the traffic light, I believe tomorrow they're going to inspect it.
Correct.
We have the flashing light that the fire department requested for safety of the firefighters up all over the pike. That's been installed and PennDOT will officially sign off on it for the operation of it for the safety of firefighters. So the chief wanted to pass on the council the thanks and the mayor for funding that project and getting it's been an arduous process through PennDOT's ordinance process. But other than that, JP, I want to thank you for your help on that as well.
Thank you.
All right, any questions regarding the fire chief's report? All right, seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to accept the fire chief's report.
I'll make a motion.
Okay, Ms. Borelli made the motion. Mr. Fagioli seconds.
Yes.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Next is the engineer's report.
Thank you, Madam President. Just a few things to bring to council's attention. The road program contracts have been approved by PennDOT, and the notice to proceed has been issued. I expect the contractor to start later this week or early next week. He was delayed by weather, so it's been pushed back by 2 or 3 days. As you can see, the passive park improvements have been started. The erosion sediment control features are being installed. We have a pre-construction meeting scheduled for Thursday before the major improvements are started. As you just heard, the fire department flasher is up and running. It will be officially turned over tomorrow morning. And the 2 Baltimore Avenue, the survey plans for that demolition have been completed and forwarded to Bob Lynn's office. We're working on preliminary improvement plans and expect to schedule a progress meeting with Mr. McCosey and Mr. Bob Lynn within the next 2 weeks. And finally, one thing not on my engineer's report is the sewer cleaning is scheduled to be done late September. That would be the end of the 4-year contract. So we don't need to do anything today, but in January, I'm going to ask council's permission to solicit bids for another 4 years of sewer cleaning.
I don't think there has been, but I know we discussed it. The borough said, is there anything we need to look at for budgeting as far as any, I know we've done major repairs along the way, but is there any repairs we should anticipate?
There's nothing major at this point that needs immediate attention that I'm aware of. Of course, as we clean and we find issues, they generally get repaired immediately. So there's no large scale items necessary for attention.
The next follow-up to that question would be, being that is the case, and it's tight down there in the system itself, do we gain, is there a way to apply for EDU?
Well, yes, the short answer is yes, but it depends on how DEP accepts that. So the short answer being yes, however, a planning module still needs to be submitted. And then proof of that planning module for whatever EDUs are being requested, a lot of that data can be gleaned from the sewer cleaning projects.
But is that, council's like, if we have a developer come in and say, I want to build, is that when it happens, or could we apply as a borough and have them in a bank?
It would happen as the developer would, yeah. Not long ago, maybe 2 or 3 years ago, DEP got rid of all dry EDUs. So the bank that we thought we had of the demolition properties and all the other maintenance that's been done throughout the years, they do not recognize that anymore. So it would be done per application.
Okay. Clear it up. Thank you.
And Madam President, there is a report that's filed every September that lists our activities for maintenance of the sewer system.
True. Delcora started an I&I reporting program. So we do report that to Delcora once a year.
Any other questions for Mr. Kelly? I'll entertain a motion to accept the engineer's report.
So moved.
All right, Mr. Cannon made the motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Resnick, second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next is the solicitor. Mr. McLean.
Thank you, Madam President. A couple items to report on. We are in the process of preparing and filing multiple and a large amount of maintenance liens for work that the borough has had to perform on properties. These are situations where anything from the grass is too high and we hire somebody to cut it, to we have to demolish the property and pay somebody to do that. But whenever the borough performs work on a property after giving notice and declaring it a nuisance, we seek to recover those funds by placing a lien on the property so that we get paid either at the time of transfer or refinance, or if it's enough, we can seek to execute ourselves against the property. But there are a large amount, I guess maybe about a dozen properties that are there. So that's the bad news, is that there are a dozen properties or so. The good news is that Mr. Goulden's department are right on top of it, and they take care of these things, and they get that work performed so that hopefully it's not a nuisance to the residents. We're doing that in advance of the upset price sale, which I think is the first or second week of September. This is for properties that have not paid taxes for years 2023 and previous, or 2022 and previous, they're up to the point where they would sell the properties at tax sale. So we'll get all those liens in and filed, and hopefully get some money back from it. The other matter, under the manager's report, is the ordinance which substantially amends Chapter 92 of our Borough Code, which regulates amusement devices. And this is sort of directly in response to the borough had an ordinance for many years, probably go back to the 70s or 80s, to regulate amusement devices, where in the past, you're talking about pinball machines or video games, or even, I guess, sometimes poker machines that they're not supposed to have. And that stayed pretty static up until we've seen in these last couple of years. People are familiar now. You see all over the place the skill games that have been placed in different stores. And, we, like every other municipality, struggled with that. Right now, the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, the legislature is struggling to try to regulate and tax the skill games, just like they do for gaming machines. It's been through the court system. So there's a lot of sort of high-level fights going on about these machines out in Harrisburg. But in the meantime, where we had one or two that were in a convenience store or in some other place, we have seen a proliferation, of these machines, including one business that, cleared out a large amount of its floor area for it, almost like a mini casino that they wanted to put in. We had limited these machines to 3 per property previously. And so that was enforced when we found out about this property. But we talked with council, and we just felt that perhaps additional regulations needed to be there, whereas these things were a somewhat minor ancillary use for places. Now they seem to have become a primary use, and that's what we want to prevent. And so with that, we do, like I said, substantially revise Chapter 92. This is a very aggressive ordinance in terms of regulating these games. We define skill games in addition to amusement and other electronic devices. We provide for that they have to be licensed annually, every year in January. Even if they come in halfway through the year, we want to make sure we see what goes on. There is a more thorough screening process for the applicants. They have to provide us more information. Both Mr. Gould's department and Chief Rockenbach's police department will review the applications to make sure they comply with our ordinances and comply with our regulations. They have to pay fees, and I'll describe a little bit more about those. And we place certain restrictions and qualifications on the licenses. For instance, we indicate that, as we did before, not more than 3 devices may be in any certain property. Each device must be separated by at least 15 feet. Each device shall have at least 100 square feet of space, and no other products, merchandise, signs, display equipment, or other storage shall be permitted within that area. Each property hosting shall provide 1 additional parking space for each device, which would be in addition to any parking required by the zoning requirements. No device shall be located in any convenience store or tobacco store. Public restrooms must be available at any property hosting the mechanical device, and the restroom shall meet the requirements of any applicable building codes, including accessibility requirements. No one who is under the age of 18 may operate or play a mechanical device or be within that 100 square feet of space that the device requires. Nobody who is visibly intoxicated under the influence of drugs is permitted to operate or play any mechanical device or also be in that 100 square feet of space. They may not be located outside. Any signage, advertising, or marketing the mechanical device must adhere to the zoning requirements. In other words, any of the signs for it would have to be included within the square footage that is permitted as a whole for the property. No electronic device can be open to the public for operation or play in any residential dwelling unit. And they are also may not be permitted or open to the public in any residential or RCD zoning district. That's the residential conservation district that we have in certain parts of the borough. We make exceptions there for not-for-profit member-only social clubs or veteran organizations open on a part-time basis and used for private parties and events. And then finally, we require that each licensee will keep an accurate record of gross revenues received and gross payments made for each device. And they must submit a gross revenue and payment certification to the borough on or before December 31st of each calendar year, indicating the amounts of gross revenue and payments for each device during that previous year. Part of their application fee will be based upon the amount of gross revenue. And the thinking there also is that for machines that have a lot of play, there's going to be more attention to them and more enforcement efforts made. So perhaps instead of just stopping in, 2 or 3 times a year, it might be something where there's a monthly check-in on them. So again, we provide for inspections by both our code enforcement office and the police department to make sure that they comply with those terms that I just read. There's a procedure for revocation of the license in the event of a violation, and also violations and penalties. Just like any other summary offense, it is punishable by a fine of up to $1,000 per day and 30 days in jail in default of payment of the fines. Madam President, like I said, this is probably an aggressive regulation of these devices, which, absent the state taking some action and doing it, we think these are measures that, we thought of all the issues and problems that we were having with these types of devices. And I think each of the regulations here is geared towards, some issue or problem that we have had. So, I know that's under the manager's report. It has been advertised in the Daily Times and posted for adoption here this evening. That's all I have at this time.
Any questions for Mr. McLean?
John, if we adopt these measures, will we also notify the owners of those establishments of this new ordinance and give them a time and date to get ready to comply?
Yes, so this will, for any new businesses, it goes into effect with the adoption of the ordinance. We indicated here that for renewal of licenses, that's January 1st.
Okay.
So I know we spoke to Mr. Gould about that. We wanted to figure out a way to sort of build that in and give the present businesses notice that these are regulations they're going to have to comply with, and give them a little lead time.
And one other thing, since the state budget included revenue to be collected from these sites, and the casino industry is suing the state because of lack of taxation and regulation on these sites. Apparently the legislature is going to have to do something. I would assume we'll have to adjust our ordinance to comply with the state if and when that happens?
We may. In terms of the revenue, that's one of the thoughts about them filing the gross income and payment statement is that, that may come someday where they're taxed based on that. And the borough doesn't currently have, that tax, gross receipts tax? No. So we don't currently have a gross receipts tax, but if the borough ever did in the future, you'd have a mechanism to know how much these machines are generating.
We do have a business privilege tax.
This is privilege that the business would pay, but
Right.
but not a gross receipt.
No, it's based on gross receipts.
Oh, it is. Oh, so okay.
Yeah.
So this would then calculate into, their gross. That would tell us what their gross receipts. I mean, otherwise, John's hardware store I have to file a tax return that says it, but here, these types of machines have a way of eluding the recording of revenue. So here, we're specifically requiring them to do that. But yes, Councilman, if the state comes in and says, hey, they need 125 feet per machine or only 75 feet per machine, a square area, the state regulation would trump ours. So they would, the state has the ability to regulate it before we do. We would have to conform to any state regulations that are passed in the future.
And one more question, and Chief, you might be able to answer this one. Outside of casinos, there's been problems in the past with robberies and stuff of that nature because of the financial, people leaving with money. And of course, they have their own security to deal with that. Have you heard of any instances throughout any of your contacts where there's been problems related to robberies or assaults at these type places?
Actually, yes. I was discussing with the solicitor prior to the meeting, a neighboring jurisdiction that's experiencing a lot of commercial burglaries where they're targeting these machines. If you follow the news out of the city, which from the city comes what we deal with at many points, there's issues that surround businesses that, as John explained, when you take away your retail space to put a bunch of these machines in, okay, they're going to draw problems. And we have seen that, not major problems, not an abundance of robberies or things like that, but disorderly problems, problems with arguments over payouts, things of that nature, security in the building itself, underage players. That was the impetus that we sat down with John, Tom, John and myself to try to get a rein in on this, because it didn't seem like the state was acting in a real quick manner to try to address the local problems. So yeah, your short answer is yes, we've seen some issues with it. Some local jurisdictions next to us have seen some issues with it. Are they ridiculous, outstanding? No, but do they have an opportunity to, if go unchecked? Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks, John.
Anything else? Any other questions for the solicitor? So we'll do the motion to adopt the ordinance and under the manager's report. Okay. All right. So I'll entertain a motion to accept the solicitor's report.
I'll make that motion.
All right. Mr. Fagioli made the motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Resnick seconds. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Next up is community development and code enforcement.
Thank you, Madam President. I have one addition to my prepared report. This is a follow-up conversation we had about signage enforcement on our commercial properties. Our borough code limits the signage to 30 square feet unless zoning relief was sought and granted to the applicant. And there are also certain signs and advertising devices that are not permitted in their zoning code. This has been coming up previously quite a bit at Borough Hall. So in the last 2 weeks, 23 notices were sent to local businesses. Our intention is to visit each business, take a look, and if they have signage that does not comply with our code, they will be notified and asked to voluntarily remove any signs that are not compliant with code.
Any questions for Mr. Gould?
Yeah, I don't know if I'll know. You know all the stores that are going in down at that common, the new place?
I don't.
No, you
As of now, I
didn't.
know Bernie's Pretzels is
Okay.
the next two.
Yeah.
Just the two?
That's all we have so far.
Okay.
Any other questions for Mr. Gould? I'll entertain a motion to accept the community development and code enforcement report.
I will so move.
All right, Mr. Resnick made the motion.
Second.
Mr. Braun seconded. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Next is the manager's report.
Thank you, Mayor. So, as in the caucus, as you know, the borough made a considerable effort due to the construction that, people worried about road inactivity. We have a final report 2 weeks from where it was available from us. But basically what they're saying is we have no rat activity throughout the site. One spot, there's a possibility, but he does not believe it's an infestation. As far as mice are concerned, there's a very narrow field that they wander, but we know where they're at. And again, our traps have monitors in them that actually track the in and outs of the rodents themselves. So you may see 34 incidents. They go in, eat, take off. So what's happening, we're seeing is we're getting a peak, they're getting fed, and then they're dwindled off, which means that the poison is actually helping them. And we do notice, and this gentleman isn't from around here, he's from Jersey, that's doing all these places and the locations we have, is most of the locations with a high incidence of activity are on patios and front yards, and there's a lot of barbecues, and maybe, there's residue left in the grill, dropping oil, grease, and that's a perfect environment for them, and they can go down into the side of a crack of a piece of concrete. So we're in there, we're doing what we can to do it for them, but he says we do not have an infestation, and he used this, I've used it before, they don't have license plates, so they're not traveling from the field to Crestwood Drive. This is either coming from the woods up through the inlets. We also baited all the sewers in those areas. But the school issue that we were really concerned about by using these trackings and everything, we do not have a large infestation coming from that field. We do have some groundhogs and things that have been, wheeling around town because they can't get back into their home and they're finding new homes. But we've had groundhogs and fox, and it's kind of neat that we have deer back also. So just wanted to keep you up to date. That reports are available. We're keeping the residents that have issues. If we have residents that do have issues, we send him out, and the gentleman Merv goes out and meets with them. So we're trying to be really proactive about this, because I know all the minutes I have of all the things about the school, that was one of the top issues, was concerns about roads and stuff. Just wanted to bring that to you. As far as the school itself, John's been monitoring, I've been monitoring, as well as JP. Any water runoff, we've had a couple of hits on some rain. All their efforts appear to be working so far. They haven't had it on a year yet, but they're finishing up, I guess, the next 3 weeks. JP will have all their pipes in and all their detention.
It may be longer than that, but they're getting into the stormwater, the pre-construction stormwater phase. So they're starting to shape the basins and get some of the inlets in and swales in to convey stormwater during the construction process.
That's all I have with that. Next up on the agenda is John had mentioned twice now, I guess, the intergovernmental agreement for the school bus. This is the participation in the automatic stop signal arm enforcement system for the school buses according to the Pennsylvania Motor Vehicle Code. We have filled out the application that once the revenue comes in, it gets directly right into our account through the police. So I guess we need a motion on that. Congratulations, John.
So I'll entertain a motion to approve the intergovernmental agreement between the Borough of Clifton Heights and Upper Darby School District for the use and participation in an automatic stop signal arm enforcement system for school buses in accordance with the Pennsylvania Motor Vehicle Code.
So moved.
All right, Mr. Cannon made the motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right, Mr. Fagioli seconded. I'm doing a roll call for this.
Yeah.
Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries.
The next will be a motion to adopt ordinance number 887 as described by Solicitor McLean.
Okay, so I'll entertain a motion to adopt ordinance number 887, amending Chapter 92 of the Clifton Heights Borough Code to provide additional and amended regulations of amusement devices as explained by Mr. McLean. I have a motion.
I will so move.
Okay, Mr. Resnick made the motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, Mr. Cannon second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries.
Okay, I'd like to have a motion to approve a contract with Butts Ticket Enforcement System under CoStars. Our setup cost is $9,685 for a CWT S5 touch pay by plate installation and shipping of the actual kiosks is $40,250 as described in the caucus.
Okay. All right, so entertain a motion to approve the contract with Butts Ticket Enforcement System, CoStars, setup cost being $9,685. And then installation and shipping total is $40,250.
I apologize. It should have it's Park Mobile. It's to
Oh,
Park Mobile. I
for the-
apologize.
for Park
I just looked at it. All that equipment is tied to Park Mobile.
I'll entertain a motion for that.
I'll make that motion.
All right, Mr. Fagioli made the motion, Mr. Resnick seconded. We'll do roll call vote. Mr. Resnick?
Yes.
Mr. Braun?
Yes.
Chair votes yes. Ms. Borelli?
Yes.
Mr. Cannon?
Yes.
Mr. Swan?
Yes.
And Mr. Fagioli?
Yes.
Next up, Madam Chair, if you want to talk about that, that came from your office, so speak on the next motion before I make it.
Oh, okay, yeah, so, Mr. Resnick is gonna be talking to us soon about the, annual food drive that the, Clifton Heights Boy Scouts does. And very often, most of us are participating, so I asked if it would make sense for us to make a more official partnership to help make the whole event run well, and, Mr. Resnick was in favor of that, and, it's not an issue for the borough, according to the manager, so wanted to see what the consensus was, if we thought this was a good idea, and if so, should we move forward? From other members of council.
I'm in favor, because of course, it's not me.
So we need a motion, basically.
So, I'll entertain a motion for the Clifton Heights Borough Council and Mayor to partner with the Clifton Heights Boy Scouts and their annual food drive.
And the annual food drive is Saturday, November 16th. We will be asking for, as in the past, to do a drive-through drop-off lane here, May 30 to 3. We then take the food down to Today's Child Community Center in East Berkeley, where we sort it. We inspect it. We have these guidelines for Fill Abundance, which basically says you look at the sell-by date. They typically go a year or more past that sell-by date. And if the food is older than that, it gets thrown out. And unfortunately, about 10% of our food is beyond that. In years past, we borrowed a trash truck. That's how bad it is. It's a very labor-intensive job. It's a sit-down job to do the inspecting. And we could use all the help we can get.
Looking forward to partner with.
All right, so I'll entertain a motion for that.
So moved.
All right, Mr. Cannon made the motion.
Second.
Mr. Braun seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries.
Thank you.
Completes my report.
All right. Any questions for the manager? I'll entertain a motion to accept the manager's report.
I'll make that motion.
All right, Ms. Borelli made the motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right, Mr. Swan seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Next up are our council reports. Mr. Swan?
I don't have anything to say.
Okay. Mr. Resnick?
On Saturday, September 7th, the Scouts are having a car wash from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at St. Stephen's. If your car is dirty, come on by. That's all I have.
What was the time again? I'm sorry.
10 a.m. to 2 p.m.
To 2 p.m. Thank you.
All right. Mr. Fagioli?
No, nothing.
Okay. Mr. Cannon?
Nothing.
Okay. Ms. Borelli?
Nothing.
Mr. Braun?
Nothing.
Okay. All right. I guess all I have, school starting, so we're gonna see the kids out soon, so be mindful of the kids going to school. Also wanted to thank Senator Kearney and State Representative Heather Boyd for helping us with the multimodal grant. We got an additional 1.3 million for Springfield Road. And that's all I have. And Mr. Gorman is not here. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Madam President. I don't have a whole lot. Everyone's on vacation or coming back from vacation. Hope they're enjoying their summer. We had a food drive July the 23rd. It was a big success. That was Tuesday. September the 2nd, Monday, the borough is closed due to Labor Day. And on a personal note, living here my whole entire life, with the school starting to being built, I didn't realize the effect it would take when all the trees were gone. Those trees were there long before I showed up. And it was pretty upsetting. I'm sure everyone in this room feels the same way. So hopefully in 2 years, we'll be back with our fields and we'll try to get back to normal as far as playing baseball and football and all those good things. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Any old business? Any new business? All right, next up is public participation. Any comments regarding issues or stuff with the borough? Feel free to come up, name and address.
Is it okay if I don't come up there? Because my balance is terrible.
Sure, what's your name and
I
address?
don't want to fall down. You have to pick me up. Well, anyhow, East Broadway Avenue.
Name and address, please, for record.
Rich DiPompio, 224 East Broadway Avenue.
Thank you.
Okay, East Broadway Avenue. All the efforts that have been put forth to control the traffic there has been wonderful. I want to thank everybody who's been involved with that. And your police officers have done a wonderful job patrolling that area. I really appreciate it.
I'll let the guys know.
Okay. My only problem is I can't seem to get that sign to go up more than 50 miles an hour. I've tried the darndest.
Try your car, not your skateboard. Try your car, not your skateboard.
You can't want that. But I really appreciate what has been done there. It was really great.
Thank you.
That's it, okay?
Thank you very much. Anyone else?
Tahir Korbaj. I have the two-level store on the
You got it, Mike.
Good evening. Is it working?
Yes.
Okay. My name is Tahir Korbaj. I have a tobacco store on Baltimore Avenue and Dartmouth, across the street from the Rite Aid. Actually, they want me to move all the small advertisement signs, which makes my business run. I depend on the traffic on Baltimore Bike to see that I have a lottery or have ATMs or the cigarette price is up by, and that's how I get the business. We have a very low traffic over there from the locals. So if I move the signs, the customers will want to know that I have lottery or ATM or cigarettes, then I will lose my business. So please, if you can at least, if we can keep like at least one sign of each, like one sign for the cigarettes, sign for the ATM, and sign for the liquor, just to keep my business running. Otherwise, it goes down for a month.
So does he have to go for relief on that?
It would. I mean, so you're permitted to have at least 30 square feet of signage. And that would include the signage for things like ATM, lottery. So really, it's a balancing act on your part. I mean, you need to make a determination and prioritize, which signs do you need for your business and which, can you shrink if you're over the required square footage. I mean, I think, as Mr. Gould described in his report, we've made a conscious effort. If you go around and look at some of the businesses, it has become excessive in terms of the signage that they place for the name of the business and then for all the different types of products that might be offered. Some fill up entire windows. I know from the police department standpoint, it presents a security issue because you can't see in and you can't see out for those businesses in terms of what's going on. So you have the ability to regulate yourself in terms of, if the lottery, if half your sales are the lottery, maybe you want to have that, lottery sign and you're permitted to do that. But, if you already have a 50 square foot sign that says the name of your business, and then you want to add on another 30 square feet of signage, that's too much. It violates the zoning. Now, you can speak to Mr. Gould, but, if you think that you have some type of hardship, you can apply to the zoning hearing board. If your property is somehow unique and it's different than the rest of the properties and that amount of signage just doesn't do it for you, you can apply to the zoning hearing board to get them to grant you permission to have larger signage than required. Sometimes people have come to them with that request, and depending on their reasons, they've either been approved or sometimes they're disapproved. I don't want to lead you on just to say, if you just apply, you'll get it. It really depends on what you would present to the zoning hearing board and your reasons for it, and what you currently have.
Actually, I have the original sign with my store name, but all I'm asking is like to have a small sign that I have, people know that I have lottery inside, or I have cigarettes. For the cigarette sign, it attract the traffic, which 90% of our customers coming from the traffic going to Philadelphia and coming back. When they see the cigarette sign, they will stop by, and that's how I get the business.
Well, if you have a
All I
cigarette
need is
sign,
one
it's
sign.
2 feet by 2 feet. That's 4 square feet. If you have a lottery sign, it's 2 feet by 2 feet. That's another 4 square feet. That's 8 square feet. You have another 22 square feet of signage to go.
I mean, my main sign is at the top of the store, and people traveling this way and walking by, they want to look up to see the sign, and it says tobacco store. How do they know that I have lottery? All I ask about is keeping small signs like 2 by 2, or to say that I have ATM or a lottery. I mean,
That's every municipality regulates the types of signs the businesses can have, the size of the signs, the number of signs. That's where our regulations really are not out of line or different than what any municipality has. Some municipalities enforce it better than others, but again, I think we've reached the point where, with some businesses, it just is too much. And it becomes an annoyance.
I'm ready to move. Most of them keep only one for the lottery, one cigarette sign that guys that attract the customers. And that's fine. I'm not asking too much. Because if I move them, I'm pretty sure I'm losing my business.
Like I said, sir, I don't want to be repetitive, but
Small corner store,
if you just want to put up a sign for the lottery and a sign for cigarettes, you have the ability to do that. I bet if I went by, there's a sign for Doritos, there's a sign for ATM, there's a sign for all kinds of products that you have there. You need to make that prioritized decision about, what you want to advertise and what you don't. But you are not permitted, and any other business is not permitted in this municipality to fill up every single square inch of the front of your property with signage for products or for the name of the store. It's not permitted in Clifton Heights. It's not permitted in Upper Darby or Alden or Springfield. So we're just enforcing that. I realize that from an economic standpoint, you would want to have as much signage as permitted, but
we move all the signs, but keep only like small 2 by 2 or 3 by 3 sign for the lottery or the ATM.
there you go. Like I said, if you had a 2 by 2 and a 3 by 3, you still have almost another 18 to 20 square footage of sign that you can have. You can have those signs plus twice as much more.
Thank you. One more thing, I'm sorry. Like from my business, we get a lot of this small disposables. They have small lithium batteries, which is very toxic. We cannot put it on the trash. I put a small box, but I end up having like 200 pieces. So if there's any way you can put a container or anything outside, we can recycle those batteries.
Our recycler, I don't think would take lithium batteries, I don't believe.
The county may.
County may.
That's coming up in
Hazardous waste.
September.
It's hazardous waste. So,
If you look on the county's website, next month, there's a hazardous waste pickup if that's under their.
They only do household. I don't believe they would take a business.
Did we pick it up, you mean, or we recycle it here?
It's typically businesses, it falls on the businesses to provide the disposal.
it's hazardous waste, because it's lithium batteries. And,
Bonnie Callahan, 235 Woodbridge Road. I have 2 questions. One, do we have an ordinance regulating smoke shops?
We have general zoning ordinance regulating retail. Part of what we're doing is what I addressed earlier on tonight with the amusement devices. And also smoke shops have become a business that has proliferated, not only in Clifton, but in every municipality. So we are addressing those. We're in the process of drafting amendments to our zoning ordinance to deal with both the amusement devices and tobacco stores. So the zoning takes a little bit longer because it's got to go to the planning commission here and in the county, and there's longer advertising. The amusement devices we did right away because we already had an ordinance that's not a zoning ordinance that we could do basically in a month.
Okay, so I was getting my nails done and I hear from people in the store that there's a tobacco store going in at 400 North Springfield Road.
Their zoning application is denied at this point for parking.
Okay.
Now, they could certainly appeal that before the zoning hearing board, but at this point, they have not indicated they're willing to do that.
Oh, okay. Okay, thank you.
My name's Carmen Christiana. I live at 7 Oaks Drive. My question is, the Clifton Heights Council ever talked to Upper Darby School District about getting discounts for seniors for school tax?
That's probably something.
I can tell you when I was mayor of Upper Darby, I had that conversation. It didn't go too well. But we can send, certainly, John, we could send a letter, I guess. I don't know.
I mean, you could. I'm not sure the mechanism to give discounts for seniors. I mean, that's certainly an idea that's been talked about for a very long time, is that maybe seniors should be eligible for a discount or elimination of taxes after a certain trigger point. But the state has not passed that. The best that they've done for seniors is I think they've allowed school districts to adopt a plan to make time payments, rather than the big lump sum payment in the summer. That may not do you good or not, but we could, council could discuss it and, look at maybe sending that letter, but I'm not even sure that the school district has the ability to discount taxes to treat seniors differently than other residents.
If you're listed as a homestead, I mean,
There's a homestead rebate
on that.
that increased. There's a homestead rebate for anybody regardless of age. The building you live in is your primary principal residence, and it is funded by gambling tax revenue. In 2023 was a good year for collecting gambling tax revenue. So for this year, the homestead rebate increased. It doesn't mean it's going to be the same size next year. Additionally, there was a senior citizen tax and rent rebate. You file a tax return June 30th, you can get up to $1,000 back. It's not everything, but it's something.
There's Harris has books out there for seniors that identifies all those programs. And you have any other
Sir,
questions?
it's right on the counter. If you go through that door and another door on to your left, you'll see the books. They're stacked up.
Yeah.
And they have a lot of different.
Because the Phillies are playing ball.
There you go. There you go, yep.
Thanks for your service. Thanks for your service.
Tell the Phillies you need your tax money back.
Thanks for your service.
John's getting them a book.
Any other members of the public looking to address?
I have a question. What's happening on the corner of West Berkeley and Springfield Road?
JP?
It's a park. It's a passive park. It's being funded through CDBG funds. So it's going to be a small pavilion, hero wall, grass and stormwater improvements, things like that.
Okay, it's going to be Clifton's?
All Clifton's, correct.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's going to have police, fire, and civil servants recognized for their service over the years.
Okay.
Committee put together by council that identifies people that really contribute to the borough. So it's going to be nice. And we were able to get some stones on the wall, back to find the field, in an open field. So we have the stones from the field to be able to make the wall.
Okay.
Yeah, so it should be memorable. Now we just got to find a stonemason. There's a few for the, yeah, finally.
Calling all the Italians.
Yeah. Had to ship a few over.
Any other members of the public? I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
For that, under old business, do you go through that? Oh, I missed it, but I didn't hear you. I just wanted an update on the pickle court and the dog park.
Yeah, that, the pickleball court and the dog park and the improvements on Diamond Street are all being under the same plan. We continue to work on them. We had a rendering, which we did provide. We are working through the technical issues, so I had to send the surveyors out a few more times to pick up some additional information because of the slopes of the park on Diamond Street and the parking calculations, things like that. So we're on schedule. I would expect to see some preliminary plans for council to consider within the next 3 or 4 weeks.
Okay.
Once that's done, then we can put together a public improvement cost estimate or engineer's opinion of probable cost. And then we can work forward from there as far as obtaining the funds to do the improvements.
And one other thing on the new, the governor signed the Paul Miller Act 18, and it goes in effect next year, in June 5th. And it's about cell phones driving and people holding their cell phones. And you'll be pulled over, and they're going to be taking, warning them first, and then later on ticketing these people for this, which is very good because they are terrible out there.
Suzanne, I have one other. We got good news last week. So can you give us a quick update on where you're playing? And because people have been calling and asking where you're practicing, where you're playing, and the good events that just happened last week.
We're practicing at Spalding Field, Western Park at the Folder Flag program due to us having massive amount of kids. We are playing at our home games will be at Folsom Field over on off of 420 next to the Marine Barracks. That's where our home games will be. And we'll be practicing at Spalding from now until November 15th.
Working out there.
Awesome.
Hot dogs, all right? Okay. I'll stop down for dinner.
Anything else? All right, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
I'll make the motion to adjourn.
All right,
I got
do I have a second?
Second.
All right, Mr. Hammond, second. All right.